Yo, dude, my bros are dogmen. Dear Scary Stories NYC. Yo, dude, I love your channel. I watch it at least once a week. You're the only one doing stories like this that doesn't seem prejudiced against my homies. Of course, I know that some dogmen and werewolves are dangerous. Some of them are even cannibals, eating us and each other. But you know what, dude? Some humans are cannibals too. So are you gonna go hide from all humanity? I use the term dogman loosely because I know that technically my friends are werewolves. But has anyone ever proven that other dogmen aren't also werewolves? I mean, how do we know dogmen aren't really transformed humans? The only way we could know is to see them transform or to watch them 24/7 and see if they ever change back. What I mean is this. Say you have a sighting of a dogman, or what you think is a dogman. It crosses the road in front of your car, then disappears into the woods. What if, and this is a hypothetical scenario, but what if when he crossed the road, you went ahead and dispatched a drone with a camera on it out of your special Batmobile and had it fly through the woods following that dogman? Say it followed the dogman until dawn, where the camera catches him transforming back into Lawrence Talbot and leaving muddy tracks as he climbs into the window of Claude Rains' home. What I'm saying is we can't think we know the whole lives of these creatures when we've only witnessed a few seconds of them. That's why there are some people who think all werewolves are really dogmen, and there are people like me who suspect that all dogmen might really be werewolves. And the reason I feel that way is that a number of my best bros are in fact werewolves. We go to shows together sometimes when they're in town, and I go to their shows all the time. You see, some of them are a band themselves. Of course, they can't perform as werewolves in most venues, but I have seen them bang it out in the hairy fashion at private parties. Now, I've sort of been told things about werewolfism that I don't fully understand. I do know there are different kinds of it, and different levels of severity. Some of that depends on who bit you to turn you, or if you inherited it from one or both of your parents. I am not myself a werewolf, so I can't answer too many questions about it. They're cool with me staying human. These are not the crazy and evil kinds of werewolves here. These are just guys who want to live the rock and roll lifestyle. They want fun. They want hunting, for both food and for loving, and they want loud, drunken rock music to be there as soundtrack. In other words, nothing is more American than a werewolf. These guys are patriotic, and they're brave and strong, but they don't waste their time doing anything that they don't find fun. They're the ultimate bros, and I'm actually very proud to know them. Most of the people from the time I first started hanging with them have either grown up and gotten regular lives, or else they become werewolves themselves. The entire entourage of this band are wolfmen, and one wolf lady. It's not really that well kept a secret either. I mean, if you're on the scene, you've heard of this band. And if you've heard of this band, I'm not sure how you could not be aware of the rumors about them. I mean, if Rolling Stone or some other government propaganda rag asked them if they were really dogmen, I'm sure then they'd say no, or they'd claim it was a publicity rumor, or something like that. But girls who like werewolves seem to always find their way to these guys. The information seems to reach the right ears. That's kind of what I'm trying to communicate. On their most recent tour, I actually rode on their tour bus for 4 days as they performed shows in my state. They spend as much of their leisure time as the Wolfmen as they can. But I've seen them all straighten up and look human within seconds of a bad incident going down. For instance, we got pulled over by a cop one time. We weren't speeding, but the tour bus was painted fancy, and this cop decided he was going to give us a search to see if we had anything interesting on board. Now, even if he had 20 guys with him, it would have taken a long time to search a bus with sleeping compartments in it, but this was literally one guy. So the lead singer, who I'm going to call Ace, which is not his real name, takes the cop outside for a talk. They walk off to the side of the road, chatting intently with each other. I thought he was going to give the cop a bribe. But as I watched out through the bus window, I seen Ace grow up inside of 2 or 3 seconds into this big dogman, like a much larger version than I'd ever seen him become before. Then he kind of barked at the cop. I guess it was almost more sort of a roar, really. The cop dropped back onto the seat of his pants, looking up at Ace like a kindergarten student, looking up at the teacher. Then he started sliding his behind backward along the muddy dirt, trying to put some distance between him and Ace. I never saw a cop with that expression of fear on his face before, and I mean never. So then the cop got up and turned around, running back to his cop car. His butt was brown from being rubbed in the mud, and we all had a big laugh on board the bus. Everyone was over on the right side, trying to see the action outside. So I thought the cop was going to radio in for backup, but something Ace had said or done clearly put the fear of God, or in this case I guess I should say the fear of dog, into his heart. The cop jumped into his car and drove away, without even taking the time to close his door. So Ace got a big cheer when he came back on the bus, and then the night continued as usual. Nothing that ever happened seemed to upset my werewolf bros. They could handle anything that ever got thrown at them. I was usually the only full human pureblood that was on the bus, or in their inner circle when I've been with them on tours. Even most of their girlfriends seemed to have been turned into the hairy people. After I'd started hanging with this band, I began to hear about other bands who were actually werewolves also. I was not informed, however, that not all werewolf groups get along with other werewolf groups. I went to see a band that I'd been told were wolfmen when they played a club outside the town I live in. I was surprised when I got there to see people hanging out in the parking lot looking like dogmen. I mean, dogmen wearing jeans. Werewolves. I had some friendly conversation with a bunch of them, and they invited me to share in their food and drink. When I mentioned the werewolf band I was friends with, though, they sort of finished their partying and went inside the club. I didn't take it personally. I figured it was just time for the show to start. But maybe I should have taken it personally. As this band hit the stage, a mosh pit broke out around me before I realized what was going on. It soon became a werewolf mosh pit, which is a particularly wild version of the form. Some of them mosh with their claws out. Some of them try to bite you, at least if the song so inspires them. I found myself fighting for survival, punching and kicking and jumping and climbing over others to avoid getting bitten, and turned into one of these dogman people. When they got to the middle of the show, the singer started giving this speech about someone he hated, who he said he wrote the next song about. It took me a while to figure out that he was talking about the lead singer of the dogman band that I'm friends with. So he launched into this song, which had very violent lyrics. It was all about the terrible things he wanted to do to my friend, the singer of the band I know. This song was so crazy I was getting kind of frightened, and I managed to get out of that mosh pit and start to make my way toward the exit to the parking lot. Those people I saw earlier, the werewolves I was partying with outside, well, I accidentally made eye contact with one of them as I was leaving, and I saw him nudge his friends. The next thing I knew, I was being chased out of the door of the club and into the parking lot. My car, of course, was parked on the other end of the lot, and I had a long run ahead of me. I knew these wolfmen chasing me might not be happy just turning me into one of them. They might want to drink all my blood. They might want to end my night early. I got in my car and one of them slammed my car door into my ankle before I could pull my foot inside. It was blinding pain. But I had to deal with it in real time, not sit there crying and moaning. I put all my weight on that door and slammed it into the face of the dogman that had banged up my left ankle. When he fell backward into a couple other werewolves, I had time to slam the car door and lock it. Then, and only then, did I let out a scream and moan from the excruciating pain I was experiencing. My ankle was bleeding on two sides, but didn't seem that anything was broken. I only need my hands and my right foot to drive, though, So I turned the key in the ignition, and I looked up to see werewolf after werewolf, dogman after dogman, slamming into my car, climbing on top of my car, and surrounding my car. They began banging on the glass, and I knew that sooner or later, that glass was gonna break. I gunned the engines a few times, but none of them backed off. They were screaming at me, some of them, and howling at me, a few of them. I saw my life flashing in front of my eyes, which made me realize I was about to have my story cut short. This got me angry enough that I put the car in drive. I heard bad sounds. I felt myself driving over something, but I kept going anyway. If I hadn't, then I was going to spend the rest of eternity in that parking lot. The dogman finally backed off and I sped out of there. 4 of them chased me out, and 2 of them ran after me down the highway for a lot longer than I would have expected. I drove way out away from my own home before doubling back to where I live. I didn't want any of those dogmen finding out where I lived, and fortunately, it didn't seem that any of them chased me too far. At one time I was sort of seeing this one woman who was into the band. I didn't even know she was a werewolf also, until we got into a big argument and sort of started breaking up. The more I disagreed with her and stood up to the things she was saying that I felt weren't true, the more furious she became. Soon it was like she was so angry at me, you'd have thought I cured blindness in 1,000 people or something. Her voice got deeper, and she got this sort of 5 o'clock shadow, only she got it all over, if you know what I mean. Her arms started bulking up in front of my eyes. It was like she was starring in a Taika Waititi Thor movie or something. I didn't notice how long her teeth had grown until they were right in my face, ordering me to back down. So I backed down, and I think you would have too. She had gone from being about 5'8" to being taller than me, and I'm just barely under 6 feet. She had to be 6'2" or 3, and she was hairy, and she was angry. Her eyes were looking weird too, although I don't know how to explain that. Maybe it was just because she was half human and half whatever. She never finished transforming. She looked so strange in that in-between state. Then she started calming down, and she sort of had to shake herself all over to start to shrink up again and get back to normal. She tried to make up with me, but I've never felt comfortable around her again after that. I can't help it. I'm hardwired to like female humans smaller than myself, not hairy monsters bigger than I'll ever be. I never asked her out again, and when I knew she was gonna be someplace, I made plans to be somewhere else. She's not on the scene here anymore, but for a while it was pretty uncomfortable as I tried to avoid seeing her. I mean, all we did by then was argue, so I didn't understand why she'd even want to see me anymore anyway. Her friends told me I was being mean to her, but I was terrified of her. Her teeth were deadly long, man. She could easily have taken me out when she was turning into the wolf. I didn't even see her fully transform. I'm sure it gets worse when she goes all the way into the other form. Besides the fact that I think she should have warned me that she was not an ordinary human, I also think she should understand why I would want to avoid her scene after her outburst. You know, boundaries are important in relationships, and having someone's large fangs chomped inches in front of your eyes when she's mad at you, well, that violates every boundary I've ever had. Some of the dogmen who come to shows by my friend's band look more to me like furries than genuine dogmen or werewolves. Maybe that's what they are, but I don't know. Again, as I said before, you would have to watch each of these characters for some time to figure out what the real deal is with each of them. Maybe some really are furries, people who wanted to know what the life was like of being a werewolf, but like me, maybe they were too afraid to take the plunge and allow one of the others to officially bite them and transform them. Again, maybe those were real werewolves also. Maybe their fur just looked like a furry costume. I mean, how would I know? Or even be able to begin to guess? Even so, I know for a fact that most of these people are real. I know most of them in their human forms as well, and I've already told you about having that argument with my half-transformed girlfriend. Obviously, having spent a few days touring with the guys, I saw them transforming a lot. The drummer used to transform in his sleep. He would whimper loudly when he slept, and sometimes it looked like he was chasing rabbits in his dreams. There was this one girl on the scene who would get nauseous when she changed into the werewolf. Fortunately, she gave off warning signs when she was about to change. Like, some people could go bam and push the change through in almost no time at all, but for others, it was almost like a sneeze coming on, if you know what I mean. It would build up in these kinds of twitchy motions into the full change. Now, this particular girl would only change when she was very wasted, and I assume that's what brought on the nausea. At any rate, I've seen her get sick from a distance, and I always ran. It was scarier than that part of The Exorcist. You know, that part of The Exorcist. Whenever anyone would shout anything about Stephanie, like, Stephanie's about to blow, you knew to stop what you were doing and figure out where you were in relation to Steph, then do what you had to do in order to put more distance between you and her. I kind of wonder how many of the bands touring in the Midwest might also be werewolves or dogmen, especially the ones touring the more underground circuit. I also wonder what else might turn out to be real besides werewolves. I used to have this girlfriend, and this was a while back. She always told me that she was on the vampire scene, but I never believed her, at least not literally. That was before I started to make friends with the dogman rockers, though. I guess it's kind of a stereotype to say that these rocker dudes were wolves, but this is one of those cases that I guess might even inspire stereotypes. These were macho guys. These were guys that hung in a pack and worked together to get work and to attract a strong female presence into their lives at all times, every day. Before I met those guys, I thought women liked nice men who held doors for them and allowed the women to rule their lives. Now I've seen that women like confident men who really don't even need them. I can't say I'm happy about that, as I'm not really a very macho or confident guy. But at least I understand now why some of my girlfriends dumped me for guys who didn't love them half as much as I did. You know, I keep talking about all this as though it's in the past, but I do hope to see my bros in the spring or summer. I haven't even checked to see if they've planned their 2023 touring out yet, but they always come through this area. I think they probably have their second strongest following here, after their home state, of course. It's just that when they're not in town, my life isn't even half as interesting. I just work my job, and I pay rent to my mother, which is depressing. I want to move out, but the money I would be spending on rent for my own apartment is going to my mom, so I can't afford to move. I really am stuck in a downward spiral until my brothers come back on tour. They took this winter off, and I'm seriously missing them. It's starting to feel like my life is going down the twilight so much that the next time they come through town, I might even let them turn me. I mean, I'm sick of being worried about stuff. Dogmen don't care about paying rent, and they certainly don't pay rent to their mother. I bet it's a hard life in some ways, but what life do I have to look forward to here? Dogmen don't care about the economy. They don't care about recessions or depressions either. Dogmen just hunt with their pack and choose between the women who come to them. The longer they're gone, the less I like the idea of living my life in the way that I'm living it. I can't wait till the werewolves come back to town and I can once again say, "Yo, dude, my bros are dogmen." Hey ho, what do you know? Our executive producer is Philo. Please join us in thanking Philo from Germany, who donated a super chat to us in euros, which are worth just a little bit more than dollars at the moment. Philo's kindness helps make this show possible, and so we say thank you. You too can send super chats to us here on YouTube, and you can join our channel membership, which has additional perks, which will be explained right now by our international TV spokesmongrel, Henry Lee Dogman. Thank. Thanks, Biggie, and thanks to all of you for watching this far. If you liked it, please click like. If you'd like to see more of our work, please subscribe. And also click that bell icon if you'd like to be notified when we put out a new episode. To become an executive producer, you can donate to us through the thanks button under each of our videos, or through our paypal.me/PeterBernard209 page. To receive cool perks like secret uncensored Dogman episodes far too wild to ever run on this channel, you can become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button, or join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com. Joining either at the $3 a month level or above gets you access to our over 25 hours of secret uncensored Dogman stories available nowhere else. Do you have a scary story about Dogman or some other kind of high strangeness that happened to you? Let us know by emailing us at scarystoriesnyc@gmail.com or by leaving us a voicemail message at 804-LA-SCARY. You may need to call back on that when it cuts off after I think 3 minutes. And if you don't want to do any of that stuff, thank you for simply watching to the end. Good night, and have a scary tomorrow.
Come back for more scary stories.